This historical documentary is dedicated to Professor Makhan Tickoo. He served the Central Institute of English and Foreign Languages University between 1963 and 1984. As founder head of the Department of Materials Production, he initiated collaborative projects with national agencies such as the CBSE and NCERT. He retired from Regional Language Center, Singapore in 1996. Soon after India got independence in 1947, the English language teaching profession was becoming aware of the major tasks that required immediate attention in order to ensure the maintenance and improvement of standards in teaching English in state-run schools and colleges. The first such initiative took effect with the publishing of India's first structural syllabus for English language teaching in 1952. Madras English Language Teaching Campaign was born in response to the state's decision to introduce English in Class 3 and covered some 27,000 teachers teaching English at the early primary school stage. The second initiative was the founding of India's first English Language Teaching Institute in 1956 at Allahabad in Uttar Pradesh. The third major initiative was the establishment of the Central Institute of English at Hyderabad, Andhra Pradesh in 1958. The institute was India's first and only centrally sponsored institution charged with the responsibility of supporting English studies and English language teaching related goals and tasks for the entire country. Central Institute of English gave shape to Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru's vision to set up an institution to impart quality training in English for teachers. Vinayak Krishna Gokak, who had taught English for many years at the tertiary level, became the institute's first director a couple of months after it started functioning. He served the institute in that capacity for more than 7 years, from 1959 to 1966, before leaving to become Vice Chancellor of Bangalore University. H.V. George was one of the 3 British Council specialists who taught at the Central Institute of English during its formative years. He headed the Institute's Methods Department from 1958 to 1963, and then its Grammar and Usage Department for almost a year, beginning July 1963. H.G. Bruton was the Director of Studies from 1958 to 1961. N.K. Siddhanta was the Chairman of the Board of Governors from 1958 to 1961. P.E. Dastur was the Chairman of the Board of Governors from 1962 to 1967. Jawaharlal Nehru visited the Central Institute of English on 22 July 1963. In 1966, the Central Institute of English moved into its own campus on a 33-acre plot of land. Dr. Zakir Khan, the Vice President of India, inaugurated the campus on March 27, 1966. The prominent contributions of this institute have been: firstly, to set standards for Indian English. There followed a major study towards defining a standard variety of Indian English pronunciation. This was R.K. Bansal's The Intelligibility of Indian English. Secondly, the aim was to arrive at a methodology of English language teaching that would work in the hands of teachers working in mainstream schoolrooms. HNL Sastri's bilingual method research project served as a model and a starting point for a few other such studies in the next few years. The Central Institute of English began to indigenize school textbooks in English. Beginning 1963, two large-scale materials production projects began. Work on 40 books began. On completion, the two series of books were published by the NCERT. In the next few years, the two series got prescribed for use in schools affiliated to the CBSE. Some noteworthy outreach programs. From early on, the Central Institute of English built mutually beneficial academic relationships with the other institutes of English. The English Language Teaching Institute Directors Conference, which continues to be an annual feature, began in 1965. The first one was held at the Institute on February 22nd and 23rd, 1965, and the second from November 23rd to 26th of the same year. The Central Institute of English was also involved in almost all the major studies into English. Both the study groups were appointed by the Ministry of Education during the 1960s. Both the study groups were chaired by Vinayak Krishna Gokak. The main task of Study Group 1 was to study the position of English in school education. The main task of Study Group 2 was to prepare a working paper outlining a practical program of action for improving the teaching of English both at the school and the university stage. From CIE to CIEFL, on to new roles. On 4th September 1967, the Institute had a new director, a professor of English literature and head of his department at Lucknow University, Ramesh Mohan. A large number of noteworthy developments took place under his stewardship that lasted some 18 years. The first development was the renaming of the Central Institute of English as the Central Institute of English and Foreign Languages, as a result of its being assigned the task of the study, spread, and teaching of several foreign languages. The second major event was the grant of a deemed university status to the Central Institute of English and Foreign Languages by the University Grants Commission on July 22, 1973. The Ramesh Mohan Library was established during 1958 along with the university and moved to its present building during December 1987. The library holds a rich collection of books, reference works, maps, theses, and periodicals. The unit called the Structure of English at the start of the institute had become English Usage in 1962 and Grammar in 1963. It became Linguistics and Contemporary English in 1967. In 1964, with its limited mandate of producing textbooks, there was a unit called Textbook Production Unit. With its additional tasks of teaching and materials production, it was renamed as the Department of Materials Production. The Institute took on another important set of tasks in adding the Bureau of Tests and Examinations in 1967. Beginning 1969, the Department of Materials Production undertook two major materials production projects for the NCERT. The aim was to produce two sets of programmed materials, one each for Tamil and Hindi learners of English. In 1973, The Central Institute of English and Foreign Languages started its first correspondence courses. The main course was a 1-year certificate, postgraduate certificate in the teaching of English for teachers of English who had an MA degree in the subject and some experience of teaching English in schools or colleges. The year 1973 also saw the establishment of the Institute's first regional center in Shillong, Meghalaya. Formally inaugurated in May 1974, the center was meant to serve the English and foreign language teaching needs of the Northeast region. The second such center got started some 6 years later in 1979 at Lucknow in Uttar Pradesh. Project English 400 was an English teaching project initiated and funded by the Ministry of Human Resource Development, Government of India. In scale and substance, it was arguably the first of its kind to be undertaken by the Department of Materials Production. English 400 envisaged 3 concentric circles of reading: intensive reading in class using course books under the supervision of the teacher, guided self-paced reading in class using reading cards, and extensive reading in school and at home using supplementary readers. In August 2007, a full-fledged central university, the English and Foreign Languages University, started its work. Abhay Maurya, who was a professor of Russian in Delhi University, took charge of the office of the first Vice Chancellor on Friday, 5th August 2007. The objects of the university were to disseminate and advance knowledge by providing instructional, research and extension facilities in the teaching of English and foreign languages and literature in India.